Tonight, it's a growing problem that police departments across the country are facing, including here in the Valley, and it's putting officers and the community at risk.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about swatting calls where people call 911 to report a serious crime taking place, like a shooting or a bomb threat that never actually happens.
Tonight, 12 News journalist Chase Golightly spoke with Scottsdale police about how they're training to identify these calls and how often they're seeing them. Chase?
Yeah, Mark, Scottsdale Police tells me within the past 2 weeks, they've already received 3 swatting calls. Of course, the department takes these situations incredibly seriously, doing specialized training to identify them. The department even sharing with us some examples of swatting calls they've received over the years, and they are very convincing.
Yes, there's someone shooting,
These are actual 911 calls Scottsdale police have received.
I have a bomb and I have 2 hostages in my house right now.
People claiming there's an active shooter inside a restaurant or threatening to kill people inside their home.
There's a whole bunch of shooting and screaming going on.
While they sound terrified and serious, Scottsdale police says they're all fake. What they claim to be happening isn't.
But I don't know exactly where that's happening because we're there and it's not going on.
It's called swatting, a fake call that can put people's lives in real danger.
Swatting is becoming more and more prevalent.
Deputy Director Karen Sutherland with Scottsdale Police's Communication Services says these hoax calls are either meant to retaliate against someone or just draw out a huge police presence.
Swatting has been around forever, all the way back to kids in high school calling in bomb threats so they didn't have to take their exams. But in the last probably 3 to 4 years, we've really noticed an uptick.
How often do you guys see SWAT calls here?
I would say at least once a month, probably more like 2 times a month.
Sutherland says from what Scottsdale Dispatch Center has seen, a select group falls victim to this. Like, who's getting swatted?
We do see a lot of gamers. Gamers tend to be a victim here on the West Coast.
Like Grandma Crackers, who lives in Queen Creek. She's a popular Minecraft streamer on YouTube, who back in May was swatted, leading to police swarming her home with guns at the ready. The caller reportedly telling police that her grandson shot and killed her and was threatening to kill himself.
Gamers are hit a lot. Schools, religious institutions, those seem to be hit more often than others.
There's also the situation in Tucson where a man is suing the Pima County Sheriff's Department, claiming they shot him while responding to his home for a swatting call.
It's life-threatening, yeah, and that is why we have to train this much on it.
Sutherland says dispatchers and officers are trained on how to identify these calls, listening in to see if anything seems off.
For example, if a caller maybe doesn't live in Scottsdale, they may have a harder time pronouncing the street names, even the city name, and things like that are sort of a clue.
Using this swatting call as an example, the suspect claiming a shooting was happening at the local Patron bar in Scottsdale, but mispronounces the name.
Road, it's on the local Patreon.
You're never 100% sure. At least you're starting to ask the questions, right? And you're starting to know what information will be important for an officer to know so that when they are on their way, that they make the best decisions that they can make.
As far as catching the person making these calls, Sutherland says it's difficult, that they use technology to mask their phone number, identity, and location, adding that sometimes the caller isn't even in Arizona or the United States. Sutherland says the department will continue its focus to train its dispatchers and officers to handle these situations.
We all know what our role is, and we know how to recognize these calls when they're coming in. And we will investigate them when it's done.
Now, while these SWAT callers are very hard to find, there was a case back in 2022 where a teenager living in the UK threatened to shoot up multiple schools here in Scottsdale. He was arrested, facing charges for those cases. We're live in Scottsdale. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
Chase, thanks.